Good morning, good morning. Does my audio work? Can anybody hear me? Good morning, good morning. Looks like my audio works. All right. Happy CPI day, everybody. Well, I had a pretty good morning so far. I've put on 3 trades. CPI day today, so we had CPI news at 7:30. I got a early entry over here when I was getting my daughter ready for school. My first entry today was at 6:24 a.m. I woke up early today. Got an early start. Got 9.25 points on this first one. And we had the signal come down. And these are some of my favorite entries when you get this delta cross right here. And then you have the signal pull up, come back down, and where it ticks up right here, right above the delta. Those are my favorite. So entered long there, and I knew CPI was coming up, so I almost ended up getting wicked out here. I had my stop, so the price came up to here, and then the 7:30 news was going to break. And I know from previous experience that if I put my stop under the swing low, a lot of times they push it down and they'll stop those people out, and then they'll push it back up. So instead of using that swing low, I used this one for my stop, and I was within like 1 or 2 ticks of getting stopped out right here in profit. But that's the way I like to do news on big news events like that, is I try to get an early entry and get on the right side of things. And then right before news, I'll put my stop, hopefully, either a little bit in profit or at break even, just in case. And once we closed, we came up here and closed under the 8 SMA. I didn't want to push my luck, so I got out when it pulled back up to the 8. And so that was 79 points on that one. And then we had the signal pull back down and tick up right here from the green zone. So that from the playbook is the long entry. And I knew that we were really bullish after that news. So I took the long right here. We also closed above the 8 SMA right there. And I didn't want to push it again. I knew that we had this pivot line up here. So I was only looking for 125 ticks out of that. Got that right away. And now we're just waiting for our next one. So, David, good morning. And it is 8:19 Central right now. So we got about 10 minutes or so until the open. But I've already done so well today, I feel like I could probably be done right now and not have to sweat too much today. Those are the good days to have. And again, if I was just playing Cumulative Delta exits, I would actually still be in this. But like I said, I knew that, we got the open coming up. I didn't want to push it. We had this pivot line here. So 125 ticks, 31.25 points. That's kind of my standard if we're ranging. I know we're not ranging right now, we're trending, but usually right before the open we can easily go from an uptrend to a downtrend. So we'll see how she opens today. On the higher time frames, on the hourly, we're technically bearish. However, we did get this tick up above the delta right here, which is actually pretty bullish. And we have a positive slope on the delta, and the delta candles are increasing. So even though we're under the confirmation line and the confirmation line is falling, so we have a little bit of a disagreement there on the hourly, because the confirmation line with that negative slope and the delta under the confirmation line, that says we're bearish, but the current move is bullish. So I could probably go ahead and mark this as a neutral. But once the signal gets up here near this power zone, if it ticks down up there, that could turn bearish pretty quickly. So, but we don't have to worry too much about the hourly if we're trading the 1 minute. It's just nice to see what the overall trend is. On the 15, we are technically bullish. We're above the confirmation line. We have a positive slope on the confirmation line. The delta's heading up. However, the signal is right there at the top of that power zone. So if we tick down up there, we can get a little bearish here on the 1 minute. On the 5 minute, very bullish right now. We have really thick, fat delta candles. Everything's rising. So we'll see if the open turns that around or if we continue upward. The orange line here, that's our New York session VWAP that's anchored to the 7 a.m. candle. So we are nicely above that. So bullish from that perspective. Blue line down here is the regular VWAP. So definitely very bullish so far today. As far as news goes, let's check that out quick. Looks like our next news event is the overnight rate today at 8:45 a.m. That's my local time, Central. We had CPI at 7:30. We have this BOC rate statement at 8:45. Not really sure what that is, but it says it's a high impact event. So BOC press conference at 9:30. And not too much else the rest of the day. Tomorrow, as far as U.S. news, we have core PPI at 7:30 tomorrow and unemployment at 7:30 tomorrow. So today could be more of a trending day. I'm going to, I think, revert back to my my standard process. Yesterday I was trading more with the assumption that we were going to be range trading. So I was really putting an emphasis on those power zones. But you see, if you go into a decent trend, this delta can sit up here in this power zone for a long time. And so if you're only looking for power zone entries, you're not really going to get anything, or you're not going to get much, I should say. It's like this entry here. It didn't quite make it down to that lower power zone. So if that's all you were taking were power zone entries, you would have missed that one too. So the market condition really plays a huge factor in the strategy that I try to trade out of the playbook. So step number one is to try to identify the market condition you're in and then try to choose a strategy that aligns with that. With that being said, when the market opens at 8:30, especially if there's news at 8:45 or news at 9, that 8:30 to 9 o'clock time frame, it really likes to range in that time frame. So power zones are great for that first half hour. Oh, sorry about that, guys. I just realized I still have my news on the screen. Here we go. She's still pushing up though. But if you look at the delta, right, here, let me change my view a little bit to make this easier to see. Right here, we started to turn negative on the delta. And notice how thin that delta is. When it gets really thin like that, like you're really pushing it. So I know that we're pushing up right now. We're still putting in a new high, but unless that delta is going to thicken up, it's probably not going to be sustainable. It's probably going to pull back a little bit. Probably at the open here, which is in 1 minute. Or they might just shoot it through the roof. And then those delta candles will get fat again. In other words, it is really risky to go long there. Jwaz, good morning. I just fixed my screen. Sorry about that. Jwaz, if you just got here, you probably missed my initial explanation on the trades that I took so far. Basically took 3 trades, pretty straightforward. I took this tick down from the upper power zone, got up early today at, what was that, 624. Small winner, 9.25 points. And I got an early entry before the CPI news on this tick up above the rising delta. Almost got wicked out right there. And then once we closed under the 8, I took profit on the 8 once we pulled back up to it. And then I jumped back in on this tick up from the power zone. I'm sorry, not the power zone, the green zone. So, and then on that one, I knew that news, or not news, but the open was coming up. knew that we had this pivot line here, so I didn't want to push it. I just took profit at 125 ticks. Looks like we're open now. And we are ticking down. I just went ahead and took a short right there. I'll try to be a little bit more aggressive today. Only because we have a very thin delta. We were pushing up above this consolidation, and so far it looks like that could be a failed breakout right there. I know we're kind of going against trend here, but looks like I might pay the price on this one. It's a risk of trying to be more aggressive right there at the open. Ooh, almost. It didn't get me. It's close. Like one tick away. I'm using my 80 tick stop. Delta looks like it's super close to crossing under that confirmation line right here. So, and she was pushing hard earlier. Still is. But this is exactly the area where you want to look for shorts when that delta is crossing under the confirmation line. Still using my 125 tick take profit on this one. I might get wicked out here. Yep. There's my first loser. They must really want to push it today. Because if it was going to drop, that's usually where it's going to happen. We are flirting with the previous day high. Might take that out first. There we go. We just took that out. Yeah, the 5-minute delta is really strong. The 15 minutes pretty strong. It's actually starting to see the signals starting to flatten out at the top on the 15. We'll see what it does now that we took out this previous day high. It might have just wanted to grab some liquidity first. However, the delta on the 1 is starting to thicken back up now. So those buyers are stepping back in. Stealth, good morning. Very strong today. I think we bounced on the 20 there. Let's see. Yep. Right here, these the 20 EMA. I forgot if I have that set to 20 or 21. I guess they're about the same. There's the 50 and the 200. There's the 20 and the 50. All right, so that's the 20. 21's going to look almost identical. Those are EMAs that I use on those. The only SMA that I use is the 8. JWAS says, I think today's going to have a lot of upwards strength. Is that what your Heikenashis are telling you? Your 4-hour? I agree with you, though. I think we could go into an uptrend today. That's why I was saying earlier that today I think I'm going to use a little bit of a different strategy than I used yesterday. Yesterday I was assuming we were going to have more of a range day, so I was really putting an emphasis on those power zones. You know, you should always put an emphasis on the power zones, but I was also trying not to take other setups that were in the middle of the indicator. Like today, how this morning I took this one where we got this tick up above the rising delta. That's usually a really good one. So we'll just have to see what the market conditions look like as we get through this first half hour. She is pulling back now that we took out that previous day high. A little bit. Stealth, after you get stopped out, do you wait and skip the next signal? Kept getting stopped out on that sell-off between 12 and 3. If we are in a really bullish situation and I get stopped out, I don't keep taking them after that. I tried, you know, because once you have this delta that is in that upper power zone, as long as it stays in that upper power zone, you could be going into a sustained uptrend. That's detailed in the playbook. So and the rules with the sustained uptrend is that you don't want to counter trend trade. So, you know, you could take the first one, maybe take the second one if it was a little iffy, but you don't want to push it and keep taking them after that. Otherwise, you're just going to rack up losers potentially. However, if you're looking at like key levels, it's still not a bad idea. Like if you get the setup for a short, you know, like here, like we just took out the previous day high. If it does that first and then you get the setup for it, you could give that one a try too. A lot of times it's looking to just hit one of those key levels first. However, I still don't see much of a bearish setup here yet. The delta's still positive. It's actually gaining momentum right now. So ideally, if I was going to short this, what I would want to see is I want to see a negative sloping delta that's actually starting to turn negative. And then this signal to come up here and tick down right below a falling delta. But if that scenario doesn't happen, then I'm just going to keep looking for longs. JWA says BTC also pumping, which is something to note for risk on. Yeah, I noticed that too. It's been just kind of grinding its way back up here. I'm still 100% in cash in crypto right now. However, this is our delta cross, or our confirmation line cross. So once that happens, we are bullish again on the hourly on Bitcoin. On the higher time frames, it's still a little questionable. But I'll be more interested in going long on Bitcoin if we get the signal to pull back down here somewhere and then tick back up. So still in cash over there. So it might be kind of hard to see, but that delta is under that confirmation line now. So we actually might get a short setup here. We're flashing a tick down under that delta. The delta's tapering down. It's not negative yet. So this would be one where, okay, we just took out previous day high. It's showing a delta squeeze setup. You could try to take it short if you wanted to give the short another try. It is the first delta squeeze setup that we've had so far. However, if that delta still stays relatively, like if you see it gaining momentum and those candles are getting thicker, you probably don't want to do it. You only want to do it if it's thinning out, ideally turning negative. And it pulled out of it last second. That's why we wait for the candle close. So it was flashing a delta squeeze, but it never officially set up. We are closing in on the average daily range. That's this bluish green line. We just took that out. It's 8:45 now, so that news should be in or almost in. What was that news? The BOC rate statement. Oh, that's Canadian. And overnight rates. That's not going to have much of an effect on US. So really, there's not really any, I mean, it says high impact for these later today, but this is Australian dollar. So not really any high impact news today from this point forward. So Look at her run now. Looks like we just retested that previous day high and she's taking off again. Bitcoin's back above 99. I do see that. However, we really got to get through this order block first. This could be a rejection area to go back down. We'll see. Man. NQ is flying. You know, it looks like it's moving a lot more than it really is. I mean, I just changed my ATR indicator back to a 4x, 4 times ATR. And I'm sitting at a 52, which under, you know, if it wasn't December, this would just be kind of normal trading. I like it from like 30 to 70, somewhere in that range. But I had it set to 12x, so I was like, holy cow, because it was at like 163. See if I set this to 12. Yeah, now it's at like 170 if I set it to 12. We'll put it back to 4 for today. Well, we just took out the previous week high. That was at 669.75. Let's look at the weekly chart. It's funny how there's not enough data for it to even have delta candles. It needs like a certain amount of data to build that. Let's move over to the daily. On the 4 hour, it looks like we're trying to break out here. On the 4 hour, we did get this tick up from that lower power zone at 1 a.m. So, yeah, it's looking very bullish today. Here's the hourly. Those delta candles are getting really fat now. However, it's only 2. It's only 2, and it's still under a falling confirmation line, so it might not be sustainable. What we could end up doing is, so we took out this low with this low here, and we took out this swing high with this swing high. So if you look at it that way, we are right there at the top of this broadening formation. So if we get rejected here, you can expect it to come back down and take out that swing low and end up somewhere down here. Potentially. That's on the hourly. So, something to keep in mind. I'm going to leave that on the screen. Go back to the 1 minute so we could see that. We're right there on that line. Stealth, if you use the continuous contract, it will give you the data. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. JWAS, my MicroStrategy trade is up big. Let's go. Let's look at MicroStrategy quick. You guys see, I got the moon phases on here. I don't know if you guys ever plot the moon phases, but it always surprises me how much these moon phases work. It's crazy. So here we get a full moon, price goes up. Here we have the, what do they call that? The waning moon. And then price either kind of flattens out or pulls back. Full moon up, down, here, more sideways, I guess. Here we go up, here we go down. It's crazy how accurate that seems to work. I know it seems really wishy-washy, but I don't know if it has some like pull effect on our collective brains or what. Is the moon phases thing an indicator? Yeah, it's an indicator. Yeah, just go search for moon phases on TradingView and load it in. It's crazy. I use it all the time. And my dad and I, we laugh about it. And we're like, you know what? Like, I actually went back and I back tested. Like, what if you not just, entered exactly when on the moon phase, but, only enter longs if you're in like this lightish color, and then only enter shorts, using your standard indicators, but only enter shorts if you're in the dark blue setup. It actually works really well. So I don't know. Check it out. Let's look at Tesla. Again, you see that? You get the full moon and we pop up, and then you get this waning moon and you go down. It's crazy. We are beings of water. The moon affects water. Yeah, I really think it has something to do with that we just can't really explain or fully explain. I don't know. But hey, the data supports it in the chart. That's for sure. NVIDIA. And it's not perfect. It's like everything else. Indicators aren't perfect either. But it kind of puts you on the right side of things. Did I look at NQ on that? Let's look at NQ. Now NQ, like I said, it's not perfect. Here we got the waning moon and we went up. That's on the hourly. Let me go to the daily. That's where you really got to look at it on the daily. There you go. So look at this. Full moon, up, waning moon, more sideways, up. This one's a little janky, but here you get the full moon, you go up. So we're at that waning moon phase, but you could time these too. So if like from here to that one is 14 days. So it's every 14 days. There's like these little cycles. So when we get a full moon again, 14 days is, looks like on December 24th. We're going to get a full moon again on December 24th. Uh-oh. My chart locked up on me for a second. Anyway, something fun to play around with. Man, look at those hourly candles on there. We'll go back to the 1 minute. Stuff says we're coming up on the Monday high. Jawaz, I've read a decent amount of things about trading with moon phases. It's nothing to scoff at, but most do. I agree. I think there's something there. It's kind of like, I look at that kind of like how I look at UFOs. It's like people laugh about it, but there's something there. I don't know. We just can't fully explain it. Well, so far there's not really a whole lot to do here. We've been in this upper power zone. Well, here. Let's see how long we've been up here. Been up here for 1 hour and 36 minutes. So I would say that based off of that, we are in a sustained uptrend. So if you go to the playbook and we look for our sustained trend strategy, what we should be looking for, there we go, sustained trend. Basically any tick up from that lower green zone, if you're in an uptrend. If you're in a sustained downtrend, you should be looking for the opposite, tick downs from the red zone. So if it's really strong, you don't have to wait for them to be in the green zone. It's just usually a little safer if you only take those. You can take them from the red zone. So, you know, it's like these over here. You know, you could have went long on this one. You could have went long on this one. You could have went long on this one. The stronger the sustained trend, the shallower these are going to be. So it might never make it down here into that lower green zone. And by the time it does, that could be the time when the trend is turning. So it's always a delicate balance. Like right now, we're getting a tick up. So if we wanted to play this a little aggressively, which I think I might give this one a shot. Just because we are in this sustained uptrend. On this one, I'm going to get killed on, watch. I just went long right there. Excuse me. But we did get above that that Browning formation line. That's the yellow line. We came down to it. We retested it. We ticked up. We still have a positive delta. We are in a sustained uptrend. So if that sustained uptrend is going to continue, this should be a successful long here. Like I said, the this red zone, if things are turning, this is where it's going to be a little risky here. So if we do get like that, like a tick down under a falling or negative delta or tapering delta, I'm going to go ahead and pull the plug early. Still using my 125 tick take profit on this one. Technically, that delta is under that confirmation line. You can barely see it. With my luck, I probably grabbed the exact top here. I prefer the ones that just go right when I get in. I don't like it to sit around and hesitate, going to draw down a little bit. Those aren't as fun. All right, we are getting a tick down here. If we close like this, I'm just going to pull the plug. All right, I'm out. I don't like it to tick down against me when I'm underwater, so lost 10 points on that one. Delta's starting to turn negative now. See, all of these tick ups that I could have taken down here, and I passed on all those, and I finally decided to take one, and it ends up being the one that it's a loser. Such is life, you know. Well, if we put in a higher low here, maybe I will jump back in. The Dow is dropping, huh? We're right up there by that pivot line too. Those pivot lines are pretty darn good. So I don't necessarily want to go long into a pivot line. However, it did just put in that higher low on the signal. So I mean, that's in a sustained trend, that's a long. Kind of feel like we're getting into that flaky zone though, that turbulent zone, where it might be trying to turn and just keeps grinding its way through it. If you don't have your timing right on those, you're still, even if you're going, it's like, you know, the last trade I was just in, even if you're going the right direction, it could still grind you out. One thing that you can do is wait for that signal, and instead of just entering on that candle, enter on the 8. I probably should have done that on this one. This candle, and then you would have put your entry down there on the 8, and then you would have got tagged in right there. That would have been a good one. Yep, that's what I should have done. The thought didn't even cross my mind until just now. We'll simulate this one and see if we would have hit our TP. Jay was, I told you up strength. Yep, you did. I tried to go up, but I'd still lost. Bitcoin just under 100K. Yeah, we're starting to push our way through that order block. Well, you know, that's actually, it's not just that one, it's this one too. So yeah, or maybe it's just this one up here that we got to get through. Yeah, that's probably how I would map that out. Signal's flatlined at the top there. It is a sign of strength. Well, it looks like that last trade would have worked. It just hit our TP on that one at 125 ticks. Definitely a sustained uptrend. You know, another thing that works really well in these sustained trends is to just map out these prior consolidations. So like, so that's where the candle bodies overlap. So like you get one here. See how we pull back down into that? So you could buy right there. And then we pull down into, you can barely see it, but there's a candle body. Can you see like this? It's like a little doji, so you can barely see it. But that candle body overlaps with this down closed candle body. And that's exactly where it wicks to. And you could just keep mapping these out. And you can put limit orders on those. And if it, I used to actually do that quite a bit, where I would just put limit orders on those, and if it closes below one of those boxes, then you just pull the plug at a small loss. That sometimes works better than the 8 for these sustained trends. Like, see the 8 here? A lot of times it stays on one side of the 8 if you're in a really strong trend like down here, but you see how it can start to chop the 8 a little bit? Like you close below it, then above it. So if you're using a close below the 8 as like your stop, well, you're going to continually get stopped out if it keeps doing that. But if you use these little candle body consolidations, the accuracy of those is really, really nice. Speaking of, I'm going to give that a try here. You can only really do that during sustained trends, though. Well, the train might have left without me on that one. I had a limit order sitting here. It looks like it's already, if it would have wicked me in there, it's almost already to where I would have taken profit. And see, on that last trade, if I did that, I never would have lost that trade. I would have been in right here. And yeah, no drawdown at all. Well, that would have hit my TP, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel that order. We do have another one setting up here, though. Those don't work forever, though. It does get to a point where it'll start breaking through those. I was going to put an order right there, and I think I might have missed this one too. Nope, just got picked up. Can she pull above? Nope, we closed inside, so I just pulled it. So that was a break even. I got wicked in here, and then it closed inside my box, and then it pulled up a little bit right to my break even. I don't like it when they close in the box. I like them to be wicks like these. That's just a sign that it's losing strength. And we ended up getting a delta squeeze set up on that one, so probably don't want to be long there. Stealth says on a strong uptrend, buying any tick down would work until it doesn't. Yeah. You don't know how many times I've thought about just buying tick downs instead of tick ups. In a uptrend, of course. All right, I should start paying more attention here. So we got that delta squeeze setup. So if you were going to short this, that's your short setup. And entering, so we got it first, and then entering on the 8 is ideal. So like here, right there is the setup. And then if I wasn't talking so much, I would have put a limit order on the 8 right there. And then here we are headed down. I was also in that long right there. Anytime I'm like in a long and I have to start switching my mind to thinking flip short, if I'm not on top of my game, you really got to think fast to do that. So if I'm not on top of my game, I'll end up missing the trade. That was the entry if you were going to go short there. Now again, you're in a sustained uptrend, so you're not supposed to trade against a sustained uptrend. So it is definitely a higher risk trade if you want to be more aggressive. Go ahead and get rid of this to clean up the screen. Notice how it did pull down to this lower box here. We're still holding above that one. The delta is very weak though. It's thin. We finally have a little bit of a negative slope to it, but you know, if you're in a sustained uptrend, that doesn't really matter so much. If it just stays up there in that upper power zone, you're still pretty bullish. So we should still be looking for longs here, in other words. So right here on the 8, let me turn my magnet off. That's the ideal entry right there, right after the delta squeeze setup presented itself. If I could circle it. Anyhow, you guys know what I'm talking about. Right there. See, now we're going to slice through these, get rid of these things. Those don't really matter so much anymore. This right here is playbook perfect for the delta squeeze. Might not last very long because you're going counter trend, but all right, I'll be right back. Stealth says, are you in calls or shares? I'm assuming you're talking to JWAS. With his MicroStrategy trade. JWAS, you got to change your screen name so that when I say JWAS, people know who I'm talking to. All right, we are getting a tick up from the green zone. However, question is, are we still in a sustained uptrend? I suppose we should probably assume that we are until it proves that we are not. All right, we got our tick up. I got an entry sitting on the 8. Probably could have just went long there. Hey, you changed your screen name. I wasn't serious. How did you do that? Did you have to change your username on YouTube? All right, I just got tagged in. Not really liking them with that, how this looks though. Yeah, not liking what this looks like. 705.25 is where I'm in. Long. We're ticking down already right here. Underwater. I'm going to pull the plug if we're still ticked down. If we don't pull up out of this thing. And I'm out. Another 10 points. 10 and a half. Yeah, you know, this setup right here always tends to get me. It's like when you've been in a trend and you tick up from the green zone, and this when the delta is heading down like that, I don't know what it is about this setup, but it's like maybe on a higher time frame it creates like a fair value gap or something here, but it seems like this always has a tendency to drop pretty hard right after that. It's only this specific situation. And so that can easily stop you out. That's why I pulled the plug on that tick down right there. So and the delta is no longer in that upper power zone. We finally kind of went below it. So I would say that the market condition is kind of resetting right now. We are no longer in a sustained uptrend, according to the playbook. That delta has to stay in that power zone in order to say that. We're so close to that lower power zone. We're ticking up again. So I'm tempted to take another long, but this could be a little bit of a turbulent area here. I mean, we've already put in a really good size move, and it really loves to kind of flatten out and go sideways at about this time after it's put in a big move. So I wouldn't be surprised if we kind of just chop around a little bit. JWAS exited MicroStrategy trade because the Delta squeeze short setup appeared. Perfect drop. Awesome. Delta's flashing positive here too. So, like I said, I'm tempted to go long, but I don't know. Is she ready to go long again? Or do we play it more conservatively and wait for the actual short setup now that the delta is under the confirmation line? It's probably more conservative to wait for that signal to go up and hit that upper power zone first. Short that. We did kind of lose the 20 here, and we came down to the 50. So we didn't lose the 50 though. So, I mean, technically we're still bullish from an EMA perspective, not from a cumulative delta perspective. We do got a little mini broadening formation here too. Lower lows and higher highs. Those are always hard to trade if you don't know to look for them. Well, guys, if you think about the playbook setups that we have on the table, we do have the delta cross as our step 1. Our step 2 would be for this signal to pull down here somewhere, which it did, and then pull back up here, which it's doing, and then tick down. That's a short setup. It's usually a good one. So if we react off this order block, I'll get rid of this broadening formation line. But if we react off that order block and reject from it, and we do get a tick down where it looks like the delta is starting to roll over. If the delta is still rising, it can be a little iffy, but if you look at the confirmation line slope, it's also slightly negative too. That delta has a slight positive slope to it. However, if this ticks down here, I am going to take the short. But if we tick back up with that rising delta, I'm going to pull the plug. All right, I am short. At 721.25. Oh, come on, don't tick up right there. All right, I just pulled the plug, almost a break even. Looks like I lost about 1.5 points on that one. Actually, a little bit less than that. It's closer to break even. I'm just gonna call that one a break even. And but we are getting this lower high here, so if we tick down again, I'm gonna jump short again. Just trying to control my risk a little bit. Ideally, I wanted to tick down from this upper power zone, and we didn't quite make it up there. So we might get that here pretty soon. See, this delta has been rising, and ideally you want it to just continue to roll over. You don't want it to keep rising like that. But we'll be patient, wait for it to get weak, and then strike. Delta is thin. Looks like it wants to cross back above that confirmation line, so you know, it was such a strong move up here. A lot of times it just takes a little bit longer to put the brakes on. All right, we got it there. Oof. I thought we ticked down there, but we didn't. Anyway, I jumped in short there anyway. So I'm short here. I'm going to close that candle. Delta is starting to turn negative now. So that's what we were looking for. You know, if there was only one setup that you could look for of all the different setups in the playbook. Gosh, I have so many favorites though. I always say that one's my favorite and then I switch I say another's my favorite. But this is up there. This is one of the, you know, wait for that delta cross on the confirmation line. Wait for this. Be patient. Wait for that signal to pull down in the lower half. Come up here. And then any of these tick downs, you can short those. If that's the only setup that you had in your arsenal, you could be very profitable just using that. You know, where you end up, at least for me personally, where I struggle a little bit and end up eating into my profits is when I end up taking these subpar setups like in between. You know, kind of like these two back here. I was trying to, you know, go long from the red zone. We were in a sustained uptrend, so it was valid, but it's just not as good of a setup as like this. Delta's getting a little spotty now. You know, I said earlier we might just kind of chop sideways up here after that big move. Go ahead and mark this off as chop. Put our chop box on there. Technically, we do not have an exit yet, so go ahead and get rid of this. Yeah. Clean it up a little bit. Well, I am underwater and we're ticking up already. Do I pull the plug? That's the question. Sitting tight here for a second. Come on, market. You know you want to drop, just drop. I'm going to mark off two separate chop boxes here. Me no like the chop. That delta's still very weak. It's starting to roll over. It's negative. We are flashing a lower high tick down on the signal. Still a very spotty delta though. And thin. Not a fan of that. It's not even 10 o'clock yet. I still think she wants to roll down. I could be wrong, but the delta's very weak. It's rolling over. The signal's showing weakness as well. I'm going to go ahead and, well, I don't know. I was going to say I'm just going to move to break even, but probably a little too early for that. Yeah, I'll move to break even. There we go. Risk off. Stealth says it keeps getting rejected at the 50. Yeah, I know. At the 50's kind of holding it up, so we got to break that 50. But if we could take out this one, I have a feeling we're going to take out this one. JWAS, Team Maker, sending thank yous for the streams each day. I enjoy being here. Awesome. Well, I enjoy having you here, JWAS. Thank you for helping out, too. You haven't had to use your moderator capabilities recently, have you? I know that first day or two, you had to ban a couple people. There was a lot more drama then than there is now. Come on, market. What are you going to do? Just drop already. Well, my stop's at break even, so if it continues to want to climb, I'm going to get stopped out. Just here to ban the trolls. Well, good thing we haven't had any trolls recently. I don't know, guys. I think she might be losing it here. Come on. Just a little bit more. There, we took out that little swing low. Now let's go for the next one. There we go. There's 31.25 points in the bag. Now I was trying to be a little more conservative with the 125 ticks there, but I still think we're going to take that. Yep, I think we just took that low. Barely. There we go. Now it for sure took it. So that could have been a target there. But recently, I think I've been pushing it a little too much, looking for the bigger targets. So I'm trying to shallow things up a little bit, have a little bit smaller targets. Those are easier to hit. This played out perfectly. Well, maybe not perfectly because we had the chop in there. But, you know, the trade that we were looking at, we had the Delta cross. We were looking for the signal to come up, tick down near that power zone, which it did twice there. It also rejected off this order block. So, I mean, everything supported the move down. This little tick up that we got in the middle kind of threw a little bit of a wrench in things. I thought about potentially exiting early there, but I still had fairly high conviction in this move down. And, you know, with that delta being as weak as it is. But if you waited for the lower high tick down, which would have been right here, you still would have got it. Your entry would have been a little bit later. Still would have had a little bit of drawdown, but now we're back to the top of that broadening formation. So what was that on the hourly that we drew that? Yeah, that was the hourly. And I think we did take out this high, didn't we? Yeah, we definitely took that high out. So I would expect to see this pulled back down here. Maybe a previous day high. There's that 607. $607 is right here. There's the previous day high line. That's VWAP is right there. So yeah, I would not be surprised if we drop right back down to VWAP at least. Getting the timing right to get down there might be a little bit of a challenge, but we're getting a tick up from that lower power zone. We did just take out these swing lows over here. We are on that broadening formation. So this is a potential long. However, we did just lose the 50. So it might be more of a short-lived long. I don't know. You never know. All you can do is take the setups. We got a smidgen of a tick up right there at 9.58. It turned white. You can barely see it. Barely registered. So I did not take it, but if you did take it, so far that looks like a decent entry. Yep, I should not have hesitated. I should have just pulled the trigger. K. John says 21,634 is a sweet area long. 26 or 634. Where is 634? Oh, that just happens to be our average daily range line. Got some bot alerts going off. See, guys, you gotta be quick on the trigger. You can't hesitate or you miss these. Stealth, you got it? You took that little tick up? I was all set there and ready for it, but I hesitated because the tick up was so tiny. But sometimes the tinier they are, the better the entries are. So, you know, that actually lowers your risk a little bit from that perspective. Stealth says, yes, also rejecting off the 30 EMA on the 3-minute. Okay. And it just so happens to be perfectly on that Browning formation. Still amazes me how well those Browning formations work every day. Like yesterday, too. I didn't trade the afternoon yesterday so much, but when I went back and I looked and the price dropped all the way down to the bottom, that Browning formation that we drew on stream yesterday, and it hit it perfectly and bounced right off of it. Well, looks like it's getting close to, or we would have put another 31 points in the bag had I taken that setup. Yep, there we go. That would have been another 31 and a quarter. JWAS nabbed another MicroStrategy long. Looks like Bitcoin's back above 100K. Yeah, it's looking really strong. Yeah, right now I got all my bots turned off, so it's not buying me into anything, but I'm getting really close to turning them back on. You know, all these deltas are now above the confirmation line, so my bot should be looking for longs. JWAS says, with BTC strength, any MicroStrategy dips on 1 minute, according to C Delta entries, are golden for easy money. Well, you heard it there, guys. If you want easy money, follow what JWAS is doing. Go ahead and get rid of that one since I did not take that trade, but I should have. Traders regret. Happens to me a lot. It's looking pretty bullish here. Looks like we're gonna go take out that high again. Stealth is done for the day. Good job, Stealth. It's nice when you can be done for the day after, what, an hour and a half of trading? Something like that. Go enjoy the day. Well, we're back up to that power zone. We're still under the confirmation line. We're flashing a tick down. Barely in that power zone, though. It just kind of breached the bottom there. So, I was going to say, this could be a short setup. It's kind of a lower quality short setup, because we still have this delta rising pretty aggressively right here. I would like to see that signal deeper in that upper power zone. Yeah, last minute it pulled out of it too. That's why we wait for the candle close. A lot of guys argue against waiting for the candle to close, but I just see this all the time where it'll look a certain way, and within the last 3 seconds of the candle, it'll completely change. Must be when, I don't know if it's people manually submitting orders or if it's algorithms that are doing it at the last, right before the candle close. It's probably both. We're getting a higher low tick up now. We've got a rising delta. If that delta is gaining strength in that delta candle, that could be a long right there. That would be your impulsive move breakout entry. If you have solid conviction that we're going to go higher, I do think we're going to take out that high. I'm going to try the long here. It's going to run me over. 731.75. Hey Waz, I always go back to the daily chart idea. Until it closes, you don't know what it truly did today. So of course the close is important. Yeah, I agree. Stealth, I'm glad I found your channel. Your Delta strategy has really helped my trading. Well, awesome. Thank you, Stealth. Hey, if you guys really do find the playbook helpful and the strategy helpful, I am looking for more testimonials. If you guys could leave a review on the website, that would be awesome. I'd appreciate that. Also, if you guys could hit that like button. I don't ask people to do that as often as I probably should, but that would help as well. I would appreciate that. Okay, currently underwater a little bit. These entries up there near those power zones. Going long in the red power zone is it's always a little risky to do it up there. However, we got this rising delta. We ticked up right above that rising delta, so that's usually a good entry. We still haven't taken out that high, but it's working at it. Again, that 8 SMA proves to be a better entry. Had I put my limit order there instead, I wouldn't be underwater right now. Last second, it pulled up. We almost ticked down there, but it said no. There we go. There's a little pop. We took out the high. Now that we took out the high, just in case this is a liquidity sweep, I'm going to move my stop to break even. Since that was a little bit more risky to enter up there anyway. So I am risk off right now. Might come back for a little retest here. So I could get wicked out, but that's fine. Now, the problem with putting my stop at break even here is we have that little candle consolidation right there. And I know it loves to wick there before it goes up, so it could just wick me out. All right, Stealth, yeah, enjoy your day. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow if you're back. And there we go, just wicked me out. Like I said, it's fine. We just swept this liquidity over there, so there is the potential that we could turn back down here. So I'd rather be safe than sorry. And now that we took that high out, now I'm more interested in drawing out this broadening formation. So if we do end up rejecting up here, then we could potentially target this yellow line down below. And the thing about these broadening formations is when they do reject, a lot of times the move back down there is usually swift. So if you can catch it, it can usually go profitable very quickly. It's like here. It's like once we took out this low, I mean, moving from this area back up to this high. That was, you know, I mean, it hesitated a little bit, but it was fairly quick. And usually the way down is it usually takes the elevator that way, so that could be even quicker. It feels later than it is right now. It's only 10:20. I think it's because I got up so early today. I got up at like 5:40 Central Time. I haven't looked at our higher time frames in a while. So let's see if anything's changed over there. On the hourly, our current candle, it's peaking above the confirmation line, but it's not official yet. In 40 minutes, it'll be official. If we close above, this will turn bullish. However, it's still more neutral because the signal line's at the top of the indicator, so that's going to probably want to tick down and pull back a little. Still very bullish on the 15-minute. We got that tick up above this solidly rising delta. On the 5-minute, we've lost a little steam, but we're still bullish over there. Delta's starting to turn back up a little on the 5. On the 1, we do have a very thin delta. We are putting in a lower high right now, so that is a little tiny delta squeeze setup. I just ended up taking it just now. Right on the close of that candle. 734 is where I'm in. Wow. But knowing that we have this potential broad information here, instead of using my 125 ticks, I'm just going to go ahead and target this low. If we can get there. Like I said, sometimes it could play out really quick, so if we can get there, it'll be 60 points. 60 and a quarter. And that is at 673.75. On my other chart, it's 673.50, so we'll go with that one. However, we also have a potential bull flag breakout set up here, so if we tick up right here, I got to pull the plug. We can always jump back in. All right, I'm out there on the close of that candle. So lost 7.5 points on that one, which is fine. The goal here is keeping our loser small. So I was a little aggressive on that entry because the delta was thin, but what we did not have is we didn't have a negative slope on that delta. And according to the playbook, that's the ideal setup. Like you want it to look like this one over here. See how the slope of that one's negative? This one was more flat at the time of entry. It was thin though, so you know, you can still take those. They're just more aggressive. Back to that yellow line, and we're ticking down again. We're tapering negative this time. I just saw it flash negative. So we might have just been a little early on that one. We also have some bearish divergence a little bit. Well, we did a second ago. Higher high on price, a lower high on the signal. But it pulled out of it already, so that's invalid. So yeah, according to the playbook, this bull flag breakout entry, that was a long setup. Right where I pulled the plug here. I probably should have just flipped there instead of just pulled the plug, but the reason why I didn't is because we're right at the top of this broadening formation, so this could still easily turn back down. So just kind of playing it safe. But from a playbook perspective, this does satisfy the bull flag breakout entry right there. Well, she's still really strong. This could expand outside of this broadening formation here. The delta is starting to get thicker. I was expecting it to get weaker here and start to roll over, but it's getting thicker, so you don't want to short against that. And higher time frames are still bullish. So if you wanted to trade only with full time frame continuity, in that case, you should only be looking for long setups. So then, you know, that bull flag breakout setup satisfied that. I typically don't do that though. I don't trade only with full time frame continuity. Some people like to, but the reason why I don't is because price tends to range more than it trends, and so my strategy usually focuses on more on, playing both sides, ranging, just assuming that it's ranging most of the time. And but when you do go into these sustained uptrends, as long as you can recognize that you're in a sustained uptrend, I mean, it's not bad to trade with full time frame continuity. Those particular entries are going to have a higher likelihood of playing out in your favor. There's just usually less opportunity if that's all you're doing. There's the potential that I drew this broad information incorrectly here, because this took out this swing high, so we should probably, let me just see what this looks like. If we use that, and this. Sorry guys, my daughter's texting me. She claims that she's sick and she wants me to pick her up from school. But I'm a little skeptical. She's supposed to do a presentation. So the odds of her being sick same day she has to do a presentation are a little slim. Well, are we back in this sustained uptrend? We got a fairly strong delta sitting in that upper power zone again. Kind of afraid to take any tick ups in that red zone though. It's also 10:37 a.m. Lunchtime is going to be setting in here for New York. So chances of that being sustained through lunch, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of that too. Did just get a little bit of a delta squeeze set up for a short there. Kind of high risk. But we do have more of a negative slope on this one. Whereas on the other one, we didn't. Putting in a little bit of a higher low there on the signal. This feels kind of like, I don't know, kind of like chop territory to me. Now we're starting to put in a second lower high. Delta's starting to turn negative a little bit. Okay, well, if there's two lower highs, that's something I'd be more interested in taking here. Got a limit order sitting up there at the 8. Actually, just under the 8. And I just got tagged in. $761.25. Now, if we can get back in that broadening formation, I'm still looking at potentially taking out this low. 673.75. So hopefully we can get down there. If we can get down there, I am going to call it a day. Can she do it, guys? Can she do it? Now, do we have any higher time frames that support our idea that we could make a drop? And at the moment, not really. Everything on the higher time frames is still pointing up, so we are definitely going against the current at the moment. That 20 is still kind of holding us up here. So if we get a tick up from this green zone, I'm going to have to pull it. Delta's still dropping, signal's still dropping, so we're good so far. Seems like it's really kind of fighting this one, so we are ticking up from that green zone. Delta is flashing positive right there. So I might have to pull the plug here. I'll wait for the close. Got about 10 seconds. And I got out at break even. Well, it just had to do that, didn't it? It had to force me out of my trade, and we're ticking back down. Do I give it another shot? I don't know. All right, I took it because the delta is gaining more strength to the downside, but we are in the green zone down here, which isn't ideal. Give this one more shot here. I'm short at 752. And we're going to target the same target. Hopefully we were just a little early last time. Bitcoin made it as high as 101. It's pulling back slightly. That signal is still at the top of that indicator, so well, hopefully we take the elevator down here over lunch, guys. Take out that target. If we do, pick up another 78 points, hopefully. I don't know. The higher time frames still aren't really lining up with it, though, so I kind of have my doubts. And we got the 50 holding us up a little bit. Got to lose that 50 if that's going to play out. We are ticking up from that lower power zone, too, so I'm going to have to move to break even here if we do get that tick up, or flip long, potentially. All right, I pulled it. Small loss. Looks like 3.5 points. You guys still with me? Chat's pretty quiet. Did everybody go home for lunch? Yeah, those entries might have just been a little early. Might have to wait for at least the 5 minute to show a short setup first. You know, that delta is still pointed up, so might take a while. JWA, 0 NQ trades, huh? I can feel the grindy price action stepping in here, which I don't like. I don't like the grindy. There's our chop box again. So I'm wondering if I should call it a day here pretty soon. I feel like we're kind of getting close to maybe a bigger move though, so I'll give it a little bit more time. Starting to put in a lower high on the signal again. Now if we look at the 3-minute, we got more of a bull flag forming here. Same with the 5. Just put in a higher low on the signal for the first time in quite a while. Got a bunch of bot alerts going off again. By the way, all these alerts that are going off, those are my take profit alerts. If I was in a long, which I'm not, I'm 100% in cash in crypto, so I can ignore all of those. Well, it's looking like this bull flag might play out on this higher time frame on the 5 or the 3. We did get the tick up on the 3 at 1057. So the entry for the 3 is right here at 760.25. On the 1, you could have taken the higher low. I didn't really like the way that that looked though, so I didn't take it, but looks like it would have worked. Other thing to watch for with this is, here, let me get rid of this other broad information line. What I was going to say, the other thing to watch for is a mini broad information on the 1 here. Now that we took out that little swing high, this could pop back down here and take out that swing low. So we'll see if she tries to do that. Delta is still underneath the confirmation line, so technically if we get a tick down in this power zone up here, that's a short. We're starting to flash a tick down up there. Again, we have our step 1 is our confirmation delta cross right there. And then our signal pull down into the green zone, pull back up here near the upper power zone, and then tick down. That's usually a pretty good setup. Keep in mind that's only if the setup presents itself, which it has not yet. That delta is actually climbing back above the confirmation line. Higher time frames are still very bullish. So any short there is going against that current. Well, we're starting to flash a tick down up there, but we're above our broadening formation. Delta's back above confirmation line, so she's still pretty bullish. Probably don't want to short against that. Oh, we are getting this tick down up here from the upper power zone. Kind of feels like it's losing a little bit of steam. Maybe, maybe not. Well, guys, I think I'm just going to go ahead and call it a day right here. I have other things I need to get done, so looks like we got 98 points on the board. Not too bad. I feel like we could have done better, but it is what it is. Today is Wednesday. I'll be back tomorrow, same time. So if you guys continue trading, good luck. Thanks for tuning in. Give that that video a like if you could. I'd appreciate that. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.